There are a lot of different ways to take damage in Fallout 3. You could slip off a rock, you could get whacked with a sledgehammer, you could get shot with a miniature nuclear warhead. But, just like in real life, there's more than one type of damage in Fallout 3. Can you beat Fallout 3 without taking any radiation damage? Radiation damage, just like regular damage, has no immediate impact on how you play the game, but for reasons I'll explain later on, I drained the points from endurance and distributed my 9 special points amongst the other stats. Got mocked by everyone at my birthday party. They seemed to know what my future had in store for me. I shot a bug and was woken up by a bitch who would be much more attractive with the inside of her head splattered all over that wall over there. I was finally in the real game, and the time had come to set things straight. The thing about radiation is that no matter what your level, no matter your perks or your skill or your armor, you can never go beyond 1000 rads without dying. But if your health is set at 1, the amount of radiation required to kill you drops to 199, as ticking over to 200 gives you minor radiation poisoning, which will kill you in this circumstance. To ensure that any radiation kills me, I used a console command to set my rad level to 199. Any amount of radiation results in my death because my max health is 1. That means that this is a true no damage run. No radiation damage, no damage. I'm as fragile as I can possibly be. The emotional damage of my father abandoning me pairs nicely with all the other trauma I've experienced in the last 11 seconds, which makes it the perfect time to escape the vault. Escaping the vault without taking any damage is not terribly difficult. I expunged far too much ammo on Butch's mother after I beat him to death, so I went back in time to let her get mauled by the roaches, killed the troublemakers blocking my path, killed the vault security guards for what they had in their pockets, killed the security chief and the overseer too, opened the escape tunnel, and was out into the capital wasteland. I leveled up and went all in on small guns. No other skill is worth having. Barter can be useful and lockpick is nice to have, but my primary focus is being able to attack from a distance with at least some level of success. In some alternate dimension, perhaps one where I didn't burn my finger on my toaster oven when making cheese sticks several weeks ago, I would have put some points into sneak. Outside Megaton, the caravan guard had 2 grenades that I thought would look nice on my Christmas tree, or flying through the air at a small child with the pin pulled out. He took 10 shots to the dome like they were nothing. I went ahead and tested my luck on Adam's glory puddle to make sure that the radiation killed me. It did, but it wasn't as instantaneous as I would have liked. Still, it was quick enough that you don't really have enough time to do much of anything. I sold most of my garbage and boxes of shit from Blue Apron to Moira, stole a single item from her, spent a little while staring at the ground, I don't really remember what I was doing at that time, and spoke to Colin Moriarty about me dad. After hacking my way into his closet and picking the lock on his computer, I tripped on a box and died. Tried to convince Burke to pay me a lot more money for Big Boom, failed, and set off for some place that wasn't a shithole. Closer to nowhere near my destination, a dog used Commando Pro to lunge at me from 20 feet away. That perk is still so overpowered, I love it. Before journeying towards more death, some jackass hit me with a grenade and killed me. Not the explosion, the grenade itself, bouncing off my soon-to-be corpse, is what made me dead. The dangers of horribly timed quick saves appeared for the first time when dealing with a raider with a welding mask and a machine gun. After parkouring inside Walmart, because what are the employees gonna do? Ask me to stop? I used a laser pistol for what felt like the first time ever. Browsed Grandma Sparkle's pockets, didn't kill her, the game crashes enough on its own without her cursing it, and met a guy wearing a Vanta black hat. I killed him and discovered something I hadn't even considered. Water is irradiated. I can't take radiation damage, which means I can't go in the water at all. I mean, I technically could, because it doesn't kill me instantly, but I didn't abuse that because the point is to take no radiation damage whatsoever. I made a deal with the devil. I give the devil his soul in exchange for allowing his hat to return from the Shadow Realm. Then I used a grenade to ever so subtly blast his body closer to the shore, allowing me to pick his pockets without taking radiation damage. A few raiders, hiding under a bridge, sought to test my gaming prowess. They won about 90% of the time, but the only time it counts is when I win. It's a heads I win, tails you lose sort of situation. While in the presence of the guardian gnome, I ate an irradiated snack to see if it would kill me, which it did. That death didn't count though. I considered it training for when I opened my jar of 15-year-old cheese at 1 million subscribers. For the first time since the end of the game that hasn't happened yet, I crossed this bridge. It was peaceful without the giant propaganda machine. A pair of super mutants gave me some trouble. One of them had a missile launcher. Explosive weapons are annoying when you can't take damage. If you're really far away, it's obvious you won't be killed by the blast, but there's a big area where you can't tell if you're going to die. Up ahead, I approached the Jefferson Memorial in complete darkness and proceeded to eliminate the mutants guarding the entrance as best I could without the benefit of sight. From their bodies, I recovered a hunting rifle which, along with my small gun skill that is now somewhere in the mid-70s thanks to leveling up and my armored vault suit, made the super mutants inside not all that challenging to kill. Sneak attacks often yield a one-shot kill, while giving them the heads up about your death can make them suffer more before succumbing to the call of the void. For some reason there was no super mutant brute in the memorial. I found that odd, but I ignored it and continued towards Rivet City. There's a super mutant base rather close to Rivet City that I either never encountered before or forgot because it has no value to my existence. I killed 1 or 2 mutants there. A brute had a minigun, which was this game's way of telling me to steer clear of that area. Inside Rivet City, I bought and sold ordnance with flak. I got myself a lever-action rifle and a combat shotgun, used the battle-tested technique of walking objects into a corner before getting onto my hands and knees to forcefully stuff them deep inside my pockets for transport. Once I got my fill of petty thievery, I went back to the mart and went east-ish towards GNR Radio Tower. I stopped by the Chrysalis building and robbed a few super mutants of their life. I died several times on the stairs when I did what you already know I did. I don't need to say it. In an open area, combat isn't necessarily anything mind-shatteringly horrible. Unless of course you save the second a bullet enters your spine. That can be a problem on occasion. The combat shotgun was thankful for being rescued and showed its gratitude by murdering 3 people for me. 2 brutes were taken out by an act of God. I think there were mines or something that they stepped on. I did nothing and they both died. After wandering around for a bit, I passed through the underground tunnels, taking out feral ghouls and all other undead creatures I came across until I exited the metro station and arrived at Chevy Chase. Sarah Lyons and her stupid friends insinuated through their rudeness towards me that I was incapable of handling myself in a physical or metaphorical confrontation. I tried to kill them a few times, but because Bethesda is Bethesda, killing them is not an option. Making them your enemy is not an option. The behemoth died rather quickly after being shot by a mini-nuke. I had to wait a moment to approach the body because of the smell and the radiation emanating from its body, what because of the nuke and whatnot. I wasted little time inside the Galaxy News radio building. I murdered 3Dog and assumed the role of 3Dog myself. I went ahead and pushed his body down the stairs and cut off his limbs to make it look like his death was an accident. Not that he died, I am 3Dog. Someone who definitely isn't 3Dog killed themselves on my stairs. With my next destination being a mystery to us all, I went back to Megaton to sell trash and snitch on Mr. Burke to the police. I attempted a double cross by killing everyone inside Moriarty's saloon. Couldn't get my rampage to be successful though. Grenades did more harm than good, and I wasn't able to kill everyone with my shotgun before anyone fought back. Then, things got weird. Lucas placed Mr. Burke under arrest. Burke had a seizure and did nothing. Then when I went outside, Lucas got melted by the sun. And just like that, I became the sheriff of Megaton. I changed back the 3Dog. Being the sheriff is a lot of work. Before making my way south, I stopped by Vault 101, just in time to see the vault door close. I eventually found myself on memory lane. I recalled past experiences in this alleyway that involved me being killed over and over and over and over again in some previous video. Having matured since then, I took out most of who wanted to do harm to my delicate body, evaded a trap like a pro, missed multiple shots on a nearly stationary target, and found myself at the edge of what does and doesn't exist. I hugged the border of reality and headed west, then north, until I found myself in Andale, where the few adults I encountered were quite odd. Unnaturally polite and well off considering their position in the wasteland. One of the children vaguely mentioned something resembling incest, which is never a good sign. Old Man Harris suggested that I get out of town while I still could. It was around that time I realized the natural law and order in the settlement may be slightly askew. I turned myself invisible with a stealth boy and tried to plant a live grenade in a child's pocket. It didn't work. Don't judge me, you would have done it too. With the stench of failure stained in my nostrils, I successfully picked the Andale shed key, a gun, and ammo off Mr. Wilson, then got the basement key off Jack Smith before the sneaky wore off. Their basement was a little weird. I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was that was wrong. I left to talk to Jack about it, but the house was empty. The entire town was waiting outside the house to ambush me. I tried to tell them that cannibalism is fine by me. He didn't buy it. Those fools. They didn't have any guns. They never stood a chance. Small Guns was now nearing 100. I snagged the child at Heart Perk, spoke to Old Man Harris about what would happen to the town now. I had hoped that he would say I could have one of the houses now that the adults were all dead. He didn't, so I left, killed a few more raiders, and arrived at Tenpenny Tower. I told Chief Gustavo that I'd be happy to get rid of Roy Phillips, got a free gun with my Happy Meal, and entered the Forbidden Tunnel. I had to hug the wall to avoid radiation. I could have ran through the irradiated area quickly enough to avoid dying because of something, I guess. I think because you get radiation on a per second basis, so if you take radiation damage for less than a second, it doesn't count to the radiation tracker. Maybe. I actually have no idea, but it doesn't matter. I temporarily erupted into a wall of fire when I fired a gun near a gas leak. I used a grenade to set that off from a safe distance, and double-crossed Gustavo by agreeing to get the ghouls inside the tower. I made a small error in judgment when I decided that I didn't know how to open the containment door. I picked 2 keys off Gus to open the door. Neither worked. That annoyed me, so he had to die. His fellow guards didn't appreciate his death, but their opinions meant nothing to me. By the time they were all dead, I was still 3-dog. I raided the armament locker and their deaths were unnecessary. I found out sometime later that my objective was the stairs behind the tower. That newly found knowledge would not bring back Chief Gustavo and the other guards who fell before me in my rampage. That's it. Before getting to those stairs, I gave Willie some water and took his life to even out the exchange. I did him a favor. He'll never be thirsty again. Roy Phillips and his boys got inside the tower and destroyed everyone. The mask he gave me made me look more like 3-dog. His real body is probably pretty rotten by this point. Their assault lasted several minutes. Alistair Tenpenny was among the last to die. Not because he's tough or because of his sniper rifle, but because he was on the top floor. With the day won in the name of life itself, I left the tower and headed for Smith Casey's garage. I did another radiation test and died about as quickly as I thought I would. Inside the garage, I knocked out the robot with a bullet, put on the jumpsuit, entered the simulation, summoned Blue Eyes White Communist to release me from my nightmare, discovered that hitting the dog will cause the communist to shoot it, that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, tried to kill Dad, and agreed to meet him back at Rivet City. A bunch of dogs tried to ambush me and Pops outside the garage. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen in the last 5 minutes. Inside Rivet City, I killed a few people for worshipping the false prophet. Dad came to my aid just as I suspected he would, and even killed one of the Rivet City security guards. The scientists were destined to die in the evacuation tunnels beneath Jefferson Memorial, so I saved them some suffering by exploding them all with a missile launcher. Well, as many as I could anyway. The number of them who couldn't die disgusted me. I killed the scientists I could and knocked out the rest inside Project Purity before flipping the power switch in the basement and getting the fuses from Dad. I installed the fuses and died. I died before installing them, actually. Turns out there's a very slight amount of radiation right where the fuses need to be. So, you can't install them, which means the Enclave can't arrive, and you can't go to the escape tunnels with Madison Lee. I've been here before. I knew just what to do. I left that place behind and headed towards Little Lamplight. A few cows pulled an Old Yeller and mauled a super mutant to death while I watched, and I got into Little Lamplight with no issue whatsoever thanks to the Child at Heart perk. But there is a problem. You can't get Little King Shit to open the gate to Murder Pass unless the Picking Up the Pieces quest is active. Oh, and I killed Sticky just to see if anyone cared. Nobody did. To get beyond the gate, I had to use an old tactic us Fallout 3 speedrunning world record holders used back in the 90s. Spam, quick save, and quick load into a corner of the gate until you clip through it. Then, you can enter Murder Pass as you normally would. By this point, the super mutants are glorified punching bags. Skeletons are always a threat to your health though. I whipped out old Bessie the missile launcher to take out one of the brutes, used a few grenades to do more damage, then finished him off with a shotgun. The lever action gun rifle could kill mutants with a single shot if you land a shot that kills them in one hit. At level 6, I got small guns up to 100 and put the remaining points into lockpick. Fox was predictably unhappy to see me, not that his happiness will matter for too much longer. For some reason I thought there was radiation in the control console room, but there wasn't. Sid the human and Sid the centaur both tried to kill me. Fox was thrilled to be released from his cell, and I actually did most of the work as we worked our way towards the Gek. I needed Fox to get it for obvious reasons, but after he retrieved it, his life served no purpose whatsoever. I blasted him with a fat man and finished him off with a submachine gun. Thankfully, nothing else broke, and I was abducted by the Enclave. I almost made myself nauseous by spinning in circles in the cell like a madman. I got my shit back, put on my face in proper three-dog attire, and killed everything I could find throughout the Enclave base. None of their lives mattered. Most of them fought back about as well as a rock would fight back after being told it's about to become a bunch of smaller rocks. I smooth-talked the president to make him think I was on his side. I escaped without too many issues, arrived back at the Citadel, and hit another wall. Because I never arrived at the Citadel with Madison Lee, the big metal door never opened, so I have no way to get in. That, of course, was a lie. There is a way in. Jump onto a pile of rubble on the northern side of the Citadel, and you can quickly maneuver yourself out of that area you're supposed to be in. From there, you can run beneath a few buildings and more debris until you're inside the space the game sets aside for the exterior of the Citadel. You're not supposed to be there, so it's just empty space. Open the door from the other side, sneak attack a Brotherhood initiate to see if you can kill them. You can, but the game doesn't like it. Attend the briefing with Elder Lion, and you're nearly home free. I bought a few last-minute items from Captain Durga, then killed her because she had it coming. Attempted to kill a few more people who of course can't die. One Brotherhood knight followed me outside, and was rude enough to shoot me. Maybe he was upset that I blew the head off one of the knights inside. Didn't really matter. I sent him to his friend, used a fat man, to see how many Brotherhood soldiers I could get away with killing, and had to fast travel back to the Citadel from within the Citadel to get past the invisible wall that's left when the metal gate opens. Liberty Prime and I got to the Jefferson Memorial without too many issues, and Sarah Lyons and I entered the Jefferson Memorial to finish the fight. I used a fat man at first because I thought it would be the most effective. Sorta was, sorta wasn't. A 44 Magnum took the heads off those who were blinded by the nuclear blast. I sneak attacked Colonel Autumn and his two goons, and something was very wrong. My dad was still inside the purifier. I couldn't go inside to say hello because of the radiation, which for some reason took a lot longer to kill me than it should have. But I was curious. More curious than I was when I put a magnet to my parents' TV after being told not to do it in school. So I temporarily suspended the challenge to see if James had anything interesting to say. He didn't. I embraced the radiation, died, and went back in time like 45 seconds. I told Sarah Lyons that there was no way I was giving her the code. I knocked her out once, then a second time to get her inside the purifier. After she killed me, when I attempted to give her permanent brain damage, I gave into peer pressure and told her the code. She went inside and activated Project Purity. And not only did I beat Fallout 3 without taking any radiation damage, I beat Fallout 3 without my father dying. Fallout 3 has quite a few stories to tell. Many of them take place in the Capital Wasteland. A few of them take place outside of it, but only one takes place in space. Can you beat Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta DLC without taking any damage? Because there are no level requirements or recommendations for Fallout 3's DLCs, I started from the very beginning, named myself Alan, as in Alan the Alien, assumed the role of a perfectly normal human male, walked dad, spread out my special points amongst everything besides endurance, birthday stuff, my dad's chin is big enough to land a plane on, and I did something incredible. Something I've never done before. I picked energy weapons as one of my skills. I normally don't put any points into that skill, because it's worthless and anyone who uses energy weapons is also worthless. But science believes that light travels faster than a bullet in space, so I had to play it safe. Then I killed a bunch of people, escaped the vault, got my waypoint, and headed north. Normally, I would pretty much ignore everything else as I made my way towards the start of the DLC. This time, I decided that if there was anything along my path towards the north, it would be okay to stop and investigate. I'm going into this DLC at level 2. Having a few extra weapons wouldn't be the worst thing ever. Before long, I found a weird ship in the ground. I knew exactly what was coming, but it still hurt on an emotional level that I couldn't see what items that body had. I'll tell my grandchildren of this day. I'll fight back the tears as I fill their ears with the tales of the corpse that got away. I set my max health to 1 so that any damage of any kind will kill me, and got caught in a tornado. It was a shade of blue, so it might have been a hurricane. The strabismus I had surgically corrected many years ago returned like a phoenix, like a big burning Thomas the Tank Engine. I briefly woke up to see these green guys talking about me as if I wasn't even there. That was very rude of them. Then Mr. Prickly stuck his finger in my eye socket, and the world was white. This was payback for making fun of blind people a few videos ago. It wasn't about poking and prodding around my insides, or about experimenting on me, or having mechanical slugs crawling into my body through my belly button. It was about making me see what the blind people see, so I could understand the error of my ways. Of course, I made no mistakes ever in my life. I knew this to be 100% correct because my vision returned. A crybaby got chosen by the claw, was carried off to who knows where, and Soma had an idea. A very bad idea. I'm a good noodle, but I don't deal well with pain or being punched by women. Her plan is that we pretend to fight long enough for the green midgets to be sent in to stop all the ruckus. Then we rip their arms off and beat them to death with their limbs. Can you see what the problem is here? I learned mighty quick that her fist was enough to kill me, which is good. It's a sign I can't take damage, but this is a confined space. That's why it's a holding cell. Thankfully, without the confines of clothing, I was able to avoid her blows long enough for the aliens to come into the cell with their pleasure devices. Soma distracted them while I used my hands as weapons. With my freedom finally restored, I killed the Rivet City security guard and began exploring the area in search of a way out. I might be free, but I'm not really free. I did find an Enclave officer and don his outfit. The healing archway did nothing because doctors are a sham, illnesses don't exist, and I realized something about this DLC. It's similar to Operation Anchorage. There are many objects that you can't interact with at all. They're fixed in place unlike a lot of the items, scrap metal, various household cleaners, toy cars, etc. from the base game. This Sally character spoke to me through the static, and in her weird voice that doesn't match her face, she told me that she could help guide me through the ship. It was smart of Bethesda to include a child as the guide person, since children can't die in Bethesda games. To get her out of the cell, I had to deactivate this coolant tower thing, which is actually kind of annoying because of how long it takes. Sally has a mustache, sort of. I killed another alien with the shock baton, got all my equipment back, as well as some plasma-based weaponry, put on the Enclave armor to disguise myself amongst the aliens, and entered the Steamworks. I figured my best bet would be the 10mm pistol, because it has 10 in its name, and 10 is a pretty big number. Yeah, it was shit. I swapped it out for a shock baton, and the aliens never stood a chance. Sneak attacks and rapidly firing shots downed a few more up ahead. Generally speaking, killing someone before they have a chance to react is the best way to avoid being rendered dead by them. Then I got the alien atomizer. This thing does 24 damage per shot. Not bad, but the good thing is that it is 100% accurate. Wherever your crosshair is aimed is where it will go. For the majority of the aliens, it's a one-shot kill. My energy weapon skill makes energy weapons more potent, which results in the atomizer dealing a lot of damage. Nevertheless, I pressed onward. That word didn't fit there. Something exploded that probably wasn't my fault, and I began using the disintegrator instead. It does far more damage, but I learned right now actually that it wasn't enough to one-shot everything. The speed of the aliens is something that would be a recurring problem throughout my spacefaring adventures. I got hit by the dreaded white mist and died. At least that's what I thought. Turned out some rascal shot me from behind like some sort of a common dandy. I made them pay for that by killing all the alien workers I found. Stupid voice Sally informed me some time ago that they were innocent and don't pose a threat. I disagree. They were rather loud and obnoxious when they were fleeing from me. That was annoying, so death is deserved. I'll be honest, a lot of this DLC is not very difficult. Many of the enemies can die in one shot, regardless of whether you're hidden or not. It doesn't really help that I'm a notorious save hoarder. If I'm not saving so often that the game effectively becomes a Windows Movie Maker slideshow, I'm not saving often enough. I should probably start implementing some sort of an honor-based checkpoint system, or I could just up the difficulty as to not be a giant bitch. Past me will consider it and discuss it with future me to hopefully get current me to do something about it. Sally came out of hiding after most of the aliens were dead. This tentacle TV dinner thing disgusted me. I took out a turret and I entered the engineering core. I was so damn curious here that I suspended the challenge for a bit to explore the galaxy. It's amazing that this is what stars look like when you get close to them. Back in the real world, Sally told me that the teleporter was offline. Can you guess who has to fix it? Eat your heart out, Bob the Builder. I got this one. Sally then introduced me to her frozen friends. Much like the people I went to high school with, they were very much alive, but wouldn't interact with me in any way. I listened to all their recordings, then thawed them bitches out. Colonel Hartigan proved his name is a lie when he chose death over talking to me. He had no heart after all. So I stripped him naked, talked to Elliot, whose face bothered me for some reason, talked to the samurai, talked to Red Dead Redemption, and Sally told me that there were 3 more generators that must be destroyed before I can venture out into the vacuum cleaner of space. The cryo lab was first, because I before C except after P. The cryo lab was big and foggy and ominous. It's almost like I'm on board an alien ship or something. This is where they hold the abductees and prepare them for all sorts of fun experiments. Raiders and feral ghouls were here, emphasis on were because they're dead. They even had a room where every living creature could be turned into an icicle. The ground got increasingly misty as I got closer to the generator. I also unleashed the all-powerful nothing on all the aliens in the area. Super mutants were captured and held somewhere. I pressed a button to let them loose, but I never saw them until they were dead. I eventually found the generator, activated the coolant switches, went on an adventure to see how many limbs the explosion would blast off. Was pretty disappointed by the result, slowed down time briefly to see this alien thing fire in slow motion, and went back to the central hub where an alien was being held against its will. Paulson killed it, so I killed him and became more Paul than I've ever been before. I also noticed that my mouth opens when I fire the Paul gun. Something told me Wild West would become useful in the future, so I reloaded a save, let him live, and went to the hangar to find the next generator. Moments after I arrived, a spaceship showed up. It was quite concerning. It just sat there, menacingly. I saw the space down below the ship and tried to explore it. Died, and went 110% floppy. The few aliens in the area were cleared out, and I dropped a gun down the hole to see what would happen. It was amazing. It flew around like nothing I'd ever seen. If a small toy ricocheted like something that didn't care about gravity, just imagine what a corpse would do. So I killed an alien and dragged its fat ass all the way to the opening and dropped it in. It was everything I hoped it would be, dancing on the borders of gravity, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. The challenge was temporarily suspended again to allow me to become Jesus just for a moment. I walked out over the opening and dropped every object I had, all my junk, armor, and weapons. Dozens of items, all suspended in the air, waiting for their moment to shine. I hit the switch to turn on reality and watched my babies drop into the abyss. It was truly one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. The spectacle was so amazing that I had to join in myself. Then I thought I had a way to take it to the next level. Slip got a couple bucks to make him slow down time enough that I might be able to comprehend what I was witnessing. But it was too much. My brain couldn't handle it, and I died. That or one of the objects flying around bounced off the back of my head and killed me. After all that excitement, it was time to get serious. An entire army's worth of aliens showed up, most likely out of that ship I disrespected earlier. To say that this was the most challenging part of the entire playthrough would be an understatement. No, it wouldn't. Would it? No, yeah, that's right. I didn't even attempt to count how many aliens I killed. Not only did I die so many times that keeping track would be a nightmare, I can't even count that high. I started getting confused once I got to 3 or 4. The aliens seem to be more accurate with their semi-automatics than most human enemies are down on what's left of Earth. Their weapons are slower than ballistic weapons, but the shots are much more visible, which always made me think I could dodge their shots. They were fast enough to make that not really possible, which was rather frustrating. I got momentarily stuck in this small room when several aliens and a drone all bum-rushed me. I managed to get the best of them in my last attempt, finished clearing out all the aliens who were encroaching on my land, and got myself a new gun, a drone cannon. It's like a grenade launcher, drill, Nerf ball blaster sort of thing. With the second generator destroyed, I passed through the hub and entered the robotic assembly area. Something about the name made me think that this was where the robots were being assembled. I used the electro drill here for a while. It might not be the most effective, but it's a fun gun to use since ammo is so plentiful. I had some trouble in this section. The enemy drones are using my weapon that I stole from them against me. It has an area of effect, which means it doesn't have to hit you directly to kill you. It was all worth it when I shot one of their shots out of the air with my own. Turrets are annoying too. They blend in with the rest of the environment incredibly well. With everything dead, I ran into a problem. What you're supposed to do is overload the assembly line. It blows up and creates an opening, allowing you to get to the third generator. But it explodes real quick, and you don't have enough time to get far enough away to avoid the blast, which, of course, does enough damage to kill you. I would later learn that you can get Soma, who knows how to repair stuff, to accompany you into the robotic assembly. But if the area is already cleared out, she'll simply tell you that you handled it just fine without her, and that she has no reason to go inside. There's no way to blow open the wall without taking damage, so you're effectively stuck. Or are you? See, you're supposed to blow it up to get to the other side. But all you really need to do is get to the generator. There's no objective stating that the assembly line has to be blown up. I called upon an old friend, speed running, to save the day. You can quick save and quick load into any object to clip through it. The difficulty varies widely, depending on what you're trying to clip through, but my understanding is that it can work on anything with enough time and effort. Once I got inside, I tried to blow up the assembly line from within the assembly line. It killed me, so I ignored it, found the last generator, did what had to be done, took the teleporter back to the main room, and was on to bigger and better things. My objective is, and has always been, getting to the upper level of the ship. Even when I was a 2-year-old shitting myself at 3 o'clock in the morning, that was my goal. I put on the spacesuit and opened the door to the decompression chamber, activated the switch, then took off the suit because I had to know what would happen if I decompressed without the suit. I died. Who would have guessed that that's what would have happened? I left the suit on the second time, the door opened, and nothing seemed to change. Odd. I then opened the door to the spacewalk. I was in space, and it barely felt like space. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but this wasn't it. Falling off the ship, and my fingers failing to grasp at anything as I lost all hope and floated out towards the infinite nothing, was nice though. The teleporter was offline because a few panels were exposed. All it took was me ground pounding them with my imagination, and I was able to get to the upper level of the ship. I took off my suit, and my head exploded again. I ran into a small issue where I was over encumbered, and every time I opened my Pip-Boy to drop something, my skull would pinata itself and turn into all sorts of candy on the floor. Eventually, it solved itself when I waddled to the next area. Sally and Soma arrived, went back through the teleporter, and I was stuck again. They blinked out of existence when they went through the orange pad. Waiting did nothing, quitting the game and relaunching it did nothing. Sally was supposed to crawl through this gap and unlock the door. What eventually fixed it was loading an earlier save. This time she did her fucking job and unlocked the door. The gang and I arrived at this observation room where the aliens likely screen peeked. That's how they knew where to find me. Ignore the fact that it was I who found them. There was some noise and something probably happened. I was distracted and missed it. Upside is, Sally opened the next door, but now it falls on me to disable the death ray. And Sally told me that the aliens are getting mad. This is getting better and better. The lighting in the ship was so bad that I thought the textures on my shirt and pants had ran away like a frightened animal. I had to brute force my way through a multitude of different areas to get to the death ray. First up was the weapons lab, not to be confused with the weapons slab, which is something else entirely. Nothing terrible happened in there. The experimentation lab was fun though. It was here a bunch of innocent aliens tried and failed to escape my wrath. But more importantly, I met abominations here. They're fun. They're kinda like what I would imagine myself to look like if I didn't know what I looked like and thought of something horrible based on my voice alone. The Biological Research Center is the more family-friendly version of the experimentation lab. I didn't really poke around in there all that much. I wasn't very interested in killing any more of my genderless brothers and sisters in spirit than I had to. Sally and the others arrived, and I took orders from a small child again. I also primed the door to explode whenever something got near it, then got near it and died. One alien died under mysterious circumstances, so I dragged his body through the red light revival machine in hopes of waking him up. When that failed, I removed his head, and before long, I arrived at the death ray. Destroying it was more complicated than I would have thought. In fact, it was so complicated that in the process of disabling it, I accidentally shot Earth with the death ray a few times, and maybe once on purpose. Getting it offline was basically just more of the same. There are 4 generators that need to be destroyed, just like all the others I've dealt with. A few aliens raided the room in an attempt to stop me. They succeeded more than once. The next time around, I spawn killed them all. The last generator was destroyed. The death ray was more flaccid than anyone could have imagined. and all that remained was reaching the bridge of the alien ship. That was more difficult than I thought it would be, mostly because there's a couple aliens and 2 turrets all shooting in a very small space, making it likely that they'll all hit their target, me. My prostate examination device made quick work of them all. Something new they had here were these weird static ball things. They were similar to the static fields blocking doorways earlier, but now they're in a ball shape. I fought through more aliens, all of which were in their living quarters. Kinda felt like I was doing something bad. It felt like what I was doing was wrong. But I wasn't gonna let that, stop me or anything. Eventually, I arrived at the bridge, where I killed the captain and most of his remaining crew members with relative ease. It felt too easy. Then came the epic space battle, the Mass Effect 3 of Fallout 3's 5th DLC. I've never played Mass Effect, but I would assume it's basically this. This was anticlimactic. All I had to do was stand there and push a button every time it lit up. Aliens tried a few times to get into the room, but Red Dead and Elliot took care of them. Toshiro helped some too after he finally bothered to show up. I died once or twice to the aliens raiding the room, but pretty much all I did was press a button. You would have to be shockingly inept at video games to not be able to destroy that other ship. With the final push of the button, the death ray that I could have sworn I'd just destroyed blasted the enemy ship, and the Zetans that had lived peacefully above our planet for generations were no more. The last main quest of the DLC was finished. The run was effectively over, but I wasn't done. There was something I wanted to find out. This is like the 5th time I've paused the challenge. I reloaded a save to just before I finished off the other ship, then ignored their shots to see what would happen if they won that epic fight for the future of mankind. I die, that's what happens, but it's just an explosion at my feet. That's it. The ship doesn't explode, nobody else dies. It's like I dropped a grenade at my feet or something. I went ahead and enabled God mode to let them fire many more times, hoping that something else would happen. I let it go for a couple minutes, but nothing else happened. Soma did die, because she was so close to where their blast lands. That was it though. So I disabled God mode, reloaded a save to after they were destroyed, teleported myself back down to Earth, and beat Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta DLC without taking any damage. The camera in a game, the way you see your character and the world around you, has a big impact on your ability to play that game. A bad camera makes precise movements more difficult and can be a real annoyance to the player. So what if you were to take a game that's played in a 3D space where you have control over the camera and then removed that control? Can you beat Fallout 3 without moving the camera? The first task is to disable the ability to move the camera. My first thought was to unbind the camera controls in the game settings, but you can't do that. So I went to plan B, using the same program I used to play New Vegas with a Guitar Hero controller. I plugged in a PlayStation 4 controller and made my computer think it's an Xbox 360 controller. Then all I had to do was leave the boxes assigned to the right analog stick empty, and I could play Fallout 3 without even having the option of moving the camera. I couldn't move it even if I wanted to. I had a couple thoughts in my head when I was born regarding the problems I might face. There were a few scenarios that I thought of that might give me trouble. When it came to my name, that was easy. I asked Discord what my name should be. I named myself made sure I had a mustache of some sort. Going through a virtual life without one sounds like hell. And the real game begins. Walking to Dad is easy. The game tried to convince me to use the right analog stick. I can't use that. We all know what happened to the right stick. It killed itself by shooting itself twice in the head and then hanging itself. It was real unfortunate. Then came the problem I hadn't even considered. Your task is to open the playpen gate. But you can't do that when you can't see the fucking gate. And you can't see the gate without turning around. With the knowledge of this single issue deep in your brain, I think you can start to come up with some other problems that might arise fairly quickly. But I tackle issues in life one at a time. I'm not worried about the future. All I cared about was getting on the other side of that 2-foot-tall gate. Jumping over it wasn't an option. I can't jump that high. My last resort, Hail Mary, shot-in-the-dark attempt was to go back to the mouse and keyboard like a PC peasant. Console master race, am I right, fellas? And quick save, quick load my way through the gate. I avoided the temptation of looking around by simply turning off my mouse. Then, I'm not sure what happened. It looked like I jumped over the gate, but I think clipping had something to do with it. Out of the playpen, I went back to the controller and assigned special points. Well, I wanted to. See, to look down at the book, you've got to turn the camera. So I can't do that. I can't assign special points. If I can't use that book, Dad won't come back through the door, and I can't proceed through the game as you normally would. Can you see where I'm going with this? My only choice is to clip through the wall, which will place me at the center of the cell, and you can only be there if the escape quest is active. So I'm escaping the vault and playing the game as a baby, all while not being able to turn the camera. I expected this challenge to be unpleasant, but not for a second did I think this was going to happen. Something else that's not fun is that I can't grab anything from my dresser, so no stim packs, no BB gun, no baseball bat. And because of the freak occurrences that take place when you trigger the escape quest early, there's no vault security to kill and loot. Not that it would matter, I can't use my Pip-Boy since I haven't gotten it yet, and trying to pull up my fist does nothing. Navigating through the vault was slow, the roaches were annoying, but it was manageable. I've played through this game enough times that I know my way around fairly well. The door to the vault holding cells is behind me, out of reach, so getting the Overseer's key wasn't going to happen. I also couldn't open this door on the left to snag the door key or the 10mm ammo that's in one of the lockers. The door to the right was locked, of course, which called for clipping through it. I did, fell through the world, and went back to the center of the cell. The next time I managed to force my little body through the door without embracing the void, got into the office, jumped and activated the terminal, and opened the escape tunnel. The wall panel had to be opened with a switch that was beyond my field of view. Quick saving through it saved the day, and things got real. This was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I need to get past the vault door. Because of where I'm looking, the door control panel is out of reach. I thought for a minute that I might be able to fuse myself with the panel on a molecular level and activate it on the inside. Couldn't. Thankfully, I had a backup plan. Because this is a different area than the vault atrium, clipping through a wall and falling through the infinite nothing places you near the door to the Capital Wasteland. I won't lie, it took me 10 minutes just to find the right position to clip successfully. All that remained was to open the door. I don't think I have the words to describe how unfun this little slice of hell was. Just like any other door, I can't activate it without either looking at it directly or being inside of it to some extent. In theory, this is possible. I can only assume that someone with more talent than me, someone who knows more about these glitches or speedrunning strategies, could do this. Very few things in any challenge have taken as long as this. Actually, I can only think of one thing. I spent close to an hour and a half on one level of Super Monkey Ball 2 a few months ago. Then I got power fucked by a different level and haven't touched the game since. I honest to God was at this door for over an hour. Trying to clip through it or just all I wanted to do was open the door. Why was that so hard? I'll tell you why. After probably 30 minutes, I got really frustrated and paused the challenge. I'd been operating under the assumption that what I was trying to do was possible. I needed to know if I did clip through the wall at just the right angle in the right spot, if I could have had the ability to press A to open the door to the Capital Wasteland. And the results will shock you. Future me put an ad right there. The quick and dirty answer is no. I don't think I could have ever gotten it. I used the TCL command to turn off collision and the SGTM command to slow down time. With the game slowed down by 75% and still without turning the camera, the prompt to open the door appeared for maybe half a second while moving. Do the math. At 100%, you're looking at about an eighth of a second window to hit E to open the door. But even then, it was farther backwards than I ever got. It was like in a wood pillar on the left when you're looking at it normally. I could go on about this area, but there's no reason to. I tried for over an hour and never got close to my goal. Maybe you can beat Fallout 3 without moving the camera, but I can't. I wasn't going to let that stop me though. I turned to the left to open the door and finally began assigning special points. Attacks of any kind are effectively impossible. I wanted to talk my way out of any possible situation, so I built my character around charisma and intelligence, picked medicine, speech, and barter as my tag skills, and failed my way into the Capital Wasteland. It's worth mentioning, because it's relevant throughout the rest of this challenge, that opening a door to a new area sort of resets your character. Regardless of where you're looking when you open the door, you're looking straight ahead after you load into a new area. Outside, I leveled up, dumped the points into my tag skills, and began making my way towards Megaton. As a baby, it takes a hell of a long time to get there from Vault 101, and it wasn't made any easier by not being able to look around. After many minutes, I saw the pile of garbage and knew I was home. Then I did something perhaps controversial. I cannot move my camera. But what if the game does it for me? When you talk to someone, you're automatically turned to face them directly. You're left facing a new direction after dialogue is over. I'll put up a poll. If you think I cheated by using that trick, answer the poll as such and feel free to dislike the video. I'm not home free. I'm not even on the goddamn map. My little maneuver had about 51 years worth of drawbacks. Also, shout out to my Pip-Boy that wouldn't work for some reason when I had the PS4 controller plugged in as my method of playing. Back to the hindrances of dialogue, I'm a baby, so almost any time I'm talking to someone, I'm gonna be looking up at them, which leaves me looking up after dialogue is over. It's almost like I can force the game to turn the camera, but the more it turns, the less I'm able to see. I started for creator side supply, and realized about halfway there that I had a couple bullets and a coffee cup or two to my name. I could see almost nothing and afford almost nothing. There was no point in even going there. I fast traveled to Vault 101 and set my sights on Little Lamplight. After everything I'd gone through, my objective was to finish the game by any means necessary, while also expending as little effort as possible. I went ahead and returned to Megaton real quick to talk to someone and get my perspective shifted, giving me a fighting chance, so to speak. Avoiding enemies was not fun, but I did learn that I could use VATS to force the game to turn the camera, for the same reason as dialogue, which also comes with the same set of drawbacks. I don't need to go into too many details, but a funny thing happened as I started heading west. Believe it or not, without being able to really see where you're going, it's easy to get confused about directions and which way you're going. I say that because I might have kinda gotten my directions mixed up or something, and gone the complete wrong way. After passing through Grey Ditch, the most annoying piece of shit in the world spoke to me at just about the worst possible moment. I was now stuck, looking straight down. Several minutes passed. I went back to Vault 101 and began my journey to the west again. For real this time. I found a dead commando with a body I could actually reach and got myself a little bit of armor and a melee weapon. Melee weapons are far more practical than firearms when you can't move the camera. As long as an enemy is close enough to you and in front of you, swinging the sword will hurt them. Of course, I'm a baby and my melee weapon skill is about as low as it could possibly be, and the sword itself only does 5 damage. But it's better than nothing, barely. Over the next 30 minutes, I would kill a mole rat, pass by some train tracks, find a Brahmin that I could use to do more harm than good to my visibility, get down to 2 slivers of health and no stim packs, decide that third-person mode was allowed, don't worry that wouldn't last for very long, and thanks to a series of quick saves, got myself stuck with a group of feral hounds that I couldn't kill and no means of healing myself. It was there I stopped playing for almost 10 days. I came back to it on February 6th with a fresh perspective, ready to make this game my bitch. I'll explain what happened, but just know that I started playing at around 1 PM, and by 5 PM, I'd done enough shots to black out. That's what this game did to me. The first thing I did was successfully get around the dogs. A bloatfly attempted to mate with me, which was real annoying, because I couldn't see it for most of the time. Using my pistol against it was like using a Nerf gun against a cement wall. What happened next shocked even me. I quite literally stumbled ass backwards into Little Lamplight. That pause you see where I stopped moving was me recoiling in excitement because I couldn't believe what I just did. That excitement would be short-lived. With that location discovered, I returned to Megaton to try to find some way to heal myself. I'd rather light myself on fire and take a salt and lemon juice bath with my body covered in 3rd-degree burns than try to get through Murder Pass as a baby with no health and without being able to turn the camera. Step 1 was terrifying Moira into submission with tales of how Raid Shadow Legends is more of a threat to humanity than Ebola and the coronavirus combined. With the armored jumpsuit in my possession, I bought all the stim packs I could, 4. Somehow got myself into the women's restroom where I drank my fill from the sink. Then came the problem of getting out of the bathroom. The only way out was to wait for someone to enter the bathroom, then use VATS to turn myself around enough to get outside and return to Little Lamplight. Speech allowed me to convince Merryweather to let me inside. It took me several minutes to waddle my way to Murder Pass. Many more were spent trying to glitch myself through the gate. And I did it. I was in Murder Pass. I thought the end was in sight. It wasn't. You can tell by how long is left in the video. I tried one time to kill one of the big orange guys with my pool noodle. Didn't seem to faze him, so I pressed onward. Getting through here without moving the camera would have been hard enough. But what really made it bad was being so slow. The only upside to being small is that there's a decent enough chance that anything attacking you won't hit you. Getting stuck between a few of them didn't help much either. Closer to the vault entrance, I wasn't tall enough to snag the stim packs in the first aid box, but I did manage to get into the reactor chamber. A little trick kept the monsters from following me inside. At first I thought maybe I could skip part of this hellhole by clipping through a wall somewhere and falling deeper into the vault. It didn't because I couldn't do it. I couldn't reach the cardboard bed either. A few rat roaches died in a way that let me rip out their innards for a snack later. With the little supplies I had, I knew there was just no way for me to get anywhere near the Gek. I gave up for the day, went to Taco Bell, picked up some vodka. Should have gotten Svedka instead of Smirnoff, but we all make mistakes. 2 days later, I decided that one way or another, I was finishing this challenge. Let me just say this, I spent the better part of 10 hours playing Fallout 3, and it was horrible. All that time getting to Murder Pass, a waste of time. I reloaded a save from before I entered Lamplight, looted what I could from a nearby shack, and returned to Megaton. My first stop was the clinic to buy some stim packs. I found that I could use a chair to modify where I was looking, which could help me a bit depending on where I find myself. My plan was to get a companion, didn't matter who. Sharon in the underworld had no karma requirement, and Star Paladin Cross had a positive karma requirement. They were my choices. Dogmeat was up there too, but he can die. I had to brute force my way into Moriarty's saloon with no lockpicks because I wasn't going to find the front door. Inside, I said nice things to the freak who's Brad Pitt compared to me, got the pulse charge from Burke, immediately ratted him out to Lucas Sims. Keep in mind 2 things real quick. 1, my head is crippled, which messes with my vision and occasionally causes me to black out. And 2, I'm describing these things that I'm doing. Talked to Gob, talked to Sims, went back to the bar, but every single thing is a monumental pain in the ass. The sheriff dying was a part of my plan. I wanted his gun and the good karma that came from ratting out the killer. Then I killed Burke a couple times to make sure his body landed in such a way that I could reach it. Before leaving town, I stopped by the common house to sleep my concussion away. Picked up a few pieces of trash inside that belonged to everyone, therefore I could take them for free. Entered Burke's house, wasn't much in there. Supposedly there was a shotgun in there somewhere, but I couldn't find it. There's also a hollowed out rock behind Megaton, containing a sniper, some ammo, and a few stim packs. I needed as much free shit as I could find. I figured I'd be better off trying to get Paladin Cross first. The Citadel isn't that far away, and I'd need to head there eventually. Might as well have the location discovered now. Again, directions is difficult. I got them confused, wrong ways I went. Thanks to a dog that is now just as dead as mine, I was able to turn myself around and face the right way. Before long, I spotted it just over the hill, the hut that the devil lived in before he made his way to hell. And for once, I thought, I'll let her live, I'll trade with her, I need all the supplies I can get. Grandma Sparkle had other plans. I made a backup save, as I did every 17 seconds, and that bitch crashed the game. It was in that moment I decided she will die. I still traded with her, and by that, I mean I forced my garbage into her body, then I pulled out a gun and blew her goddamn head off. Watching her body spasm was just as satisfying as ever. I picked what I could from her corpse, robbed her cooler, looked through her shack but didn't find much. The evil of Grandma Sparkle was defeated, so I didn't have to worry about the game crashing, and I continued heading towards the Citadel. I borrowed the supplies of a scavenger I just killed, and I'm not sure what happened next, if I accidentally hit the quick load button or if I did it as some sort of a strategy. Didn't really matter, I still found myself at the bridge. Normally I'd fight the raiders living under it, but going around it would have taken a lot of effort, so I used the quick save method to avoid fall damage, discovered the Citadel, then continued onwards towards the Jefferson Memorial because why not? Swimming as a baby is difficult. You've got to constantly be jumping like some sort of an aquatic creature to avoid drowning. The second I discovered the memorial, I took the path to the left, under the pipes and whatnot, to get around the building. This one fuck made me so irrationally angry. I used third-person mode just to see that this stupid asshole was running on the water and cheating to hit me. I should have been happy to be beaten by Jesus, but I wasn't. I was about to enter Rivet City when I realized that I couldn't reach the intercom to make the bridge extend. On the plus side, I remembered why I came this way. The passage to the underworld is through the nearby metro station. Once I got inside, I noticed some textures were missing. After drinking from an irradiated sink and discovering that there were a bunch of raiders down there, the game, predictably, crashed. Once I was back in the mine, I tried a bunch of different locations to clip through the wall to hopefully fall deeper into the Quizno station. just like in Murder Pass, it didn't work out. In the spamming of the buttons, I remembered that my karma was still neutral. If I wanted Star Paladin Cross, my karma would need to be higher. I could either post lame memes on Reddit, or I could kill some raiders. I chose the route with murder in it. With luck at 10, I actually had a somewhat decent chance at killing a few of the raiders. Not many. I didn't want to waste too many stim packs or rely heavily on irradiated water to heal, as that would have made me sick and lower endurance and other stats more than some of them already were. But I had a plan. There was a method to my madness. Acquire items, sell shit, make a profit, buy purified water, donate to Carlos outside Rivet City until I become a prophet. I thought Jenny Stahl and Megaton would have water. She didn't. Then it hit me. I could do what every celebrity or shitty YouTuber does when they fuck up. Just donate to charity. I searched the church for the King Carney. He was nowhere to be found. He was soaking his feet in the drink outside. My 220-ish caps were not enough to make me a genie in the eyes of the church. I would need more. I sold most of the weapons I wouldn't use anyway to Jenny Stahl, got myself up to almost 420 caps, donated all of it to Confessor Cromwell, and ascended to the rank of good. Back to the Citadel I went, ready to get inside, get my companion, and end it all. Here's what happened. There's a spot to the right of the Citadel where you can clip through a pile of rocks, clip through a couple other odds and ends, and find yourself under the Citadel, where you can then enter the Citadel from within the Citadel. Problem is, that's not at all easy when you can't turn the camera. It's very difficult to find the specific spot you can glitch through. Add in the fact that you're a baby, so even if you could find the spot, jumping and getting to it would be more difficult than ever before. What I'm trying to explain to you is, I gave up after about 12, maybe 15 minutes. A wise man once said, "Hi, Billy Mays here," and he was right. There's gotta be a better way. I had the supplies to brute force my way through Murder Pass. What I lacked was the skill, patience, determination, or willingness to do it. I needed to level up to make my weapons at least a little usable against the mutants in the vault. The easiest way I saw to do that was to enter the simulation in Vault 112, beneath Smith Casey's garage, and rescue Dad. That always rewards a nice chunk of experience. A fight with a bloatfly left me with a crick in my neck that lasted a while. It took me a while, but I found Smith Casey's garage. Discovering the location leveled me up. I dumped all the points into small guns, picked Daddy's Boy as the perk to give me a boost to medicine, and entered the building. I left the mole rats alive, just in case I had to turn myself around, and I couldn't reach the button. Brilliant. It was around that time I remembered that I had this problem in a previous video, and came up with no way around it. No point in trying now. Disappointed, but not surprised, I left, tried for a minute or two to clip through the wall at the Citadel, failed, and by the guiding Christmas lights hanging from above, entered Little Lamplight for the last time. I'd reloaded a save to get back to the rocks near the Citadel, so I had to assign the skill points after convincing McCready to let me in. Then, a stroke of brilliance. When I was looking through the list of companions for Fallout 3, I saw a list of temporary companions. Sticky is one of those companions. He's no paladin, but any meat shield is better than none, and, perhaps more importantly, having a companion will give me a reliable way to turn my character around without having to use VATS on something that was trying to kill me. And just in case I haven't made it clear before, allow me to do so now. Without this VATS trick, this run would be 100% impossible. If you're not facing the right way when you enter an area, you won't be able to proceed. This is the only way to make this run somewhat possible. With my new friend, I ventured towards Murder Pass. Would probably give someone a seizure if I sped up this footage, clipped through the gate easily once I found the right spot, and my boy Sticky was nowhere to be found. I couldn't hear any of his stupid jokes, and when I backed up, he was gone. Easy come, easy go. Checking my Pip-Boy, it dawned on me that I maybe should have put more than 4 points into endurance. I wasn't gonna let that stop me. I began running as fast as my little legs would let me. I found that jumping constantly helped me avoid taking damage. I can't confirm if that's actually the case, but it made me feel like it did, and I'm all about ignoring reality if it means I'll feel good. That's why I drink. As a bunch of freaks chased me down a hallway, I pumped a few shots into one of them, which did almost nothing. I had enough bullets to kill maybe 3 in total. This time, I was able to quickly snag the goodies from that first aid kit I missed last time and enter the reactor chamber. I was fairly confident that I could get through it. Looking through all my healing items, I had plenty of ways to heal myself and even a stealth boy to fall back on if I needed to. Tradition forced me to try to clip through any of the walls in hopes of skipping something. There were several minutes wasted that I'll never get back. Getting through here was trickier than I would have thought. If you weren't dealing with the super mutants, you could stop and think about which ways to go, which turns to make. But with them attacking at all times, you've got to rely on your gut, on your instincts, and my instincts are bad. One time I was home alone and lit a glass bowl on fire in the kitchen and burned the shit out of it. My gut response was to bury it in the backyard. I took the wrong turn a couple times, got stuck with the big mean men blasting my little body several times. My head was crippled, then my chest cavity. I found it really funny that because I'm a child, my character will sometimes shout, "Help!" That would sometimes happen right before my skull took a bullet and ended that simulation. You're in a simulation too. Soon enough, I got to the door of all doors, the test labs. Quick saved a bunch of times to keep the monsters from coming after me, and without even trying, clipped through the wall. It took me a minute, but I eventually figured out where in the test labs I was. Backwards walked for a while because there was nobody to help me. Tricked some mutants into opening a door, activated the fire alarm, ran past all the centaurs and into the loving arms of Fox. He'd been freed and will fight for me. With him by my side, getting to the Gek would be a cakewalk. The only bits that had the potential for frustration were when he'd go around the corner. I had to make sure to vats him once or twice to turn myself around so his ass would never leave my field of view. He took care of all the bad guys real good. I played hide and seek with their dead bodies. He retrieved the Gek for me, and I was on my way. To get from the room where I got the Gek to where the Enclave abducted me took me about 3 minutes. I'm telling you that because I got all the way there and realized I wasn't facing left enough to open the fucking door. So that meant 3 minutes of backtracking towards Fox, using VATS to turn left, then another 3 minutes to get back to the door. These are the kinds of things you get to experience when you torture yourself with a video game. After it took 3 grown men to abduct a baby with a gun, I woke up in their base, retrieved my equipment, leveled up, dumped all the points into medicine, picked educated as my perk, did the first and last charisma check on the Enclave officer to convince him that I'm big important, and waddled towards the president's office. You might be surprised how easy, relatively easily, it was for me to get to the control room, where the sentry bots would protect me. I thought carefully about which way I'd have to face to ensure that I could talk to the president once I scaled all those stairs. I talked to him, scienced the shit out of his head, and had to go back down the stairs, VATS a robot to turn around, then go back up the stairs again to begin my escape. Escaping was about as difficult as it was making it to the office. Sentry bots and turrets did a lot of the work. I actually did some shooting, snagged a bunch of ammo, another missile launcher, a Gatling laser gun, blacked out briefly, and escaped out into the new world. Fox was there to rescue me, and because I'd been a shining beacon of humanity, never hurting a fly, he decided to come with me. I returned to the Citadel, and Sticky was back! But there's always good with the bad, even the sticky kind of good. The task at hand is the one that defeated me in another life, getting into the Citadel. At first, I decided against it. I thought maybe I could just make the game end whether it wanted to or not. We, myself, Fox, and Sticky, walked around the barrier that hasn't been put up yet because the war itself hasn't started yet either. Entered the Jefferson Memorial. Nobody was home, so I used that moment to get an action shot of our heroes with the TFC-1 command, and entered the rotunda to end it all. A funny thing happened in there, something similar to what's funny about all my videos. Nothing happened in there. A whole lot of nothing. I did a few things, tried glitching myself inside the console to see if I could push the buttons from within the console, because remember, as a baby, I can't reach the buttons. After maybe 15 minutes of trying a bunch of different things, I managed to jump and reach one of the lowermost buttons, and I can't activate them because there is no power. If I'd knocked out Colonel Autumn, I might have been able to make the game think the console had power. That's how speedrunners do it, but I didn't find a way to reach the middle or top keys. It was a waste of time. My only remaining choice was to clip myself through those rocks from earlier to get inside the Citadel. And, unfortunately, I'm not going to spend all that much time on this. It took me about an hour to do this. I think the first clip through the rocks to fall to the lower level that you don't normally see was just dumb luck. And once I got closer, the only reason I was able to turn around was because Fox happened to spawn nearby. I guess because I hadn't told him to wait, and if you're far enough away, a companion will just spawn near you. This was about the least fun thing I've ever done in a video. There were some really frustrating bosses in Borderlands 2 and Doom 2016. King DDD in Kirby Nightmare and Dreamland wasn't super easy. Some stealth sections of Far Cry 3 were a pain in the ass, but nothing like this. Most of what you're doing here is walking into an invisible wall, spamming quick save, quick load to see if you can make something happen, and if not, you move and try somewhere else. It's hardly even gameplay at that point. But finally, with Sticky acting as the light at the end of the tunnel, I was able to reach the door to the Citadel, enter the laboratory, get myself a sweet suit of power armor, level up, and take back America. Fox's big dumb stupid body blocked the fucking stairs. That was great. For some reason, the invisible barrier wasn't in front of the Citadel. Usually, when you don't do the Madison Lee escort mission to get inside, there's an invisible wall that's left up when the gate is lifted. But that wasn't there. Also, Liberty Prime wasn't moving. Why would he be? It was foolish of me to expect the ending of this game to work properly after everything I'd just gone through. I fast traveled and relaunched the game to see if it fixed anything. It didn't. I also thought about maybe running towards the memorial and doing all that stuff again. But instead, I acted with my brain for the second time in my life and simply went back to when I first arrived at the Citadel, met Sarah Lyons again, waited for Liberty Prime to be moved properly, went back outside, and that big beautiful bastard was doing his job. You know how I feel about following Liberty Prime. No need to mention it again. He thankfully didn't shut down or glitch out enough to break the game. The gang and I arrived at the Jefferson Memorial and entered it for the last time. I let Fox and Sarah Lyons do most of the work. There was no way I was capable of doing anything to those Enclave soldiers in power armor. And Sticky died. Just like the purple guy said in the Star War, I've lost a lot too. I wore Sticky's party hat to carry on his legacy, and once again entered the Rotunda. For the first time and last time, I used the missile launcher. I blew up Colonel Autumn. Fox and Sarah cleaned up the stragglers, and I had one last call to make. I let Fox go in to activate the purifier, solely because I'd never done that before. Probably. That's about right. Probably. Don't assume that to be 100% true. I didn't check to see if I'm right. And I did not beat Fallout 3 without turning the camera. Holy hell, what a nightmare. Please, for the love of God, don't ever try this.